Finally, okay, let's get started. So, topic is related to the requirements, all the requirements associated with how you will going to manage all the requirements, requirement communication, how you will going to communicate all the requirements it's associated with that. In these two topics, these are the subtopic: elicit, elicit requirement, analyze requirement, document and present requirements. In the requirement communication, we will going to talk about plan communication, communication model, effective communication, communication method, and communication types. So basically, requirement management, if we go about the definition, is has a three phases: eliciting the requirements from the business, then analyze the requirements, and present. Then after the last thing is presenting them in the way in a very simpler way, so each of the team member and stakeholder can understand all the requirements. So you have to represent in a manner in a very decorative way. Decorative means very simplified version of it, with the documentation, with the graphs, with the PowerPoint presentation, so everybody can understand and line up about the work. So in this diagram, we are seeing the requirement management process. What we talk about: elicit, analyze, and documentation present. In elicit, we will going to talk about prepare for destination, conduct the elicitation activity, document elicitation result, whatever the result we are expecting from the interviews and the talking with the stakeholders. In analyze, the first and foremost is prioritize the requirement, organize the requirement, specify the model requirement, define the assumption and constraint associated with any of the requirement, verify the requirements with the stakeholders, whatever you discuss, and after you have created the documentation, verify with them, validate the requirement, whether the requirement is valid with all the stakeholders and the team member, especially with the project manager. Documentation, document analyze, in the document and present, document analyzing result. So whatever the document you will going to prepare to analyze, the result of the whatever the previous process happened. Present result, how you will going to present that particular result within a team and with the stakeholders. Acquire the requirement approval, you need to require, get the approval from each stakeholder, so everybody should be on the same page. So let's dig it into one by one thing, so one at a time. So in elicit requirement from the business by the conducting requirement, elicitation meeting, and JAD session. JAD, you can make a note, joint application development, it's called. You can make a note out of it. Joint application development. So JAD session is necessary whenever you are talking with multiple people, interviewing multiple stakeholders and the persons who is associated within that particular team you are working with. The second is analyze. So in analyze, there are bunch of subtopics. What we need to do. There are questions you need to ask. So this means prioritize, organize, specify, verify, validate requirement by identify the following things. So what are the following things? The following things are: what are the types of the requirements? What type of requirements you will going to get? How to categorize the requirement? How you will going to categorize the requirement? Whether it's you know fall into same category, a different category. It's a front end work, back end work, CI/CD work. What kind of what type of requirement? Is it really a requirement? That question you have to ask, and you need to ask to the people or the stakeholders. Is it necessary or really a requirement, or they are just throwing the idea bunch of time? What is the importance of this requirement? You need to ask your stakeholders or the person who is coming with the requirement request. Is it an important requirement? Is it necessary to do so? If we are not able to accomplish this requirement, is the entire project will going to fall apart or something, or the product will going to fail? So you need to understand what type of importance is representing some particular requirement. Does the business really need this requirement? What type of stake it has with some specific requirement within a business? So you need to ask all the questions in a meeting, one-on-one meeting or JAD session. In a joint session, you can ask those questions, because what happens is if you throw some kind of kind of a matrix or a table to fill it out, people they don't have time to fill it out. They don't understand, right? So my suggestion: keep those content limited to yourself. You will going to ask directly and understand why they are giving that answers. And once you fill out that document by yourself, keep it to yourself, you can represent that these are the things we have discussed in the requirements, because that is the part of the process. Stakeholders are a very busy guy, that and their job profile is not provide any sort of time to you, to a project or anything. But it is a project, and you have to chase them to provide the correct answer or get the correct answer out of them, right? So you have to own this entire process, whether the hallucination, analyzing, or documentation. You, as a BA, business analyst, you are owning this entire processes, and you only have access of all kind of documentation before you release to a team, or release to or showing to any person, stakeholders within a team. Do you understand? Hmm. Hmm. Because these are the questions, because when you work as a business analyst, you will going to ask bunch of question within a team, also as well to yourself as well. So whenever anybody, because people will it, thought that with any project will going to start, they think that it will going to resolve all the problems whatever they are facing or the stakeholders they are facing in their particular business. So what they want to do or accomplish most of the time, they want to get a gene, they and they want to create a bunch of wishes out of them. So they will going to ask a few things that I need, a requirement. Let's stick with the example of Tesla. So a Tesla engineer or the stakeholders, they will going to say, let's make it 400 miles of range. But there is a limitation of budget. There is a limitation of battery pack. There is a limitation of space of battery pack you can, accommodate in the car. So there is a limitation, right? You cannot have Model 3 with 90 kilowatt hour and sell it at 35,000 or $40,000. That is out of budget, and they will going to lose money from by selling that cheap vehicle, right? So I'm just giving you the example. That might be not the case, but this is a very nonsense kind of thing about the budget and all. All the stakeholders, they are well aware of the things. Something like this, the costing of the battery pack, and how much they can accommodate in the vehicle or something. But if I'm just giving you the example, if somebody come or some stakeholder come and ask business analyst, I want to acquire this, this is my requirement. So you as a business analyst, you have to justify and ask this question first of all to yourself whenever any new requirement comes, and ask those questions to the person who is demanding some requirement. You are not genie, or the team is not working as a genie. There is a limitation to do some certain things. There is a budget limitation. There is a things what as a team you need to accomplish during the some particular time period. So some things can be done, some things can't be done. So you have to prioritize, and you means you will not going to decide by thinking something. You will going to talk within a team, all the stakeholders, all the technology people, whether it's possible or not possible. Then you will going to communicate with the particular stakeholder. It is possible, and if it is not possible, you have to justify yourself. Being a technology person, he or she has provided this kind of documentation which illustrate we are not able to do that. From finance department, it is not possible. We are not able to sell the vehicle if we are not able to make it profitable for the company. We are not able to survive, right? So these questions are really, really important. And priority is also based on whenever you talk with a JAD session and talk within a stakeholders, they will going to tell you which is more prioritized things. You have to just take the communication ball rolling, and then they will going to hop on that particular ball and discuss about it, right? Do you understand, Abdul? Okay. So this topic, what is the importance of the requirement, that is representing the prioritization of the requirement. Does the business really need this requirement? You need to ask them, because sometimes people are asking a lot of nonsense demands. Are there any alternative solution? Because sometimes you are working on some other priority or requirements, right? So some other requirement may fulfill this previous whatever currently you are discussing requirement some with some stakeholder person number two. So if there is an alternate solution to that and they can agreed on something, So, you can minimize the work and maximize the output, right? That is your main priority. You can combine some bunch of requirement and minimize the work for the team and maximize the output, right? It will going to create the efficiency for your team. Understand? The third topic is document and present requirement. So you know all the BRD documents, the workflow diagram, use case, prototype, all included in it. Yes, all those things, all four things. Even though PMP is also part of it, but you are not responsible for PMP. But some case, it will not going to hurt, right? Which one? So not all the time, not all the time. Sometimes QA will going to take care of that, but you need to take care of because that is the most priority thing for you to take on that particular task. If you are not able to do it, then then somebody will going to help you out, but that is the most priority thing for you. So let's talk about elicit the requirement, how we will going to elicit the requirement, right? So you need to understand what is needs and requirement. So stakeholder always say the need, and you have to figure it out what is the requirement. As you can see over here, there is a need. Oh, there is a requirement. Build a house. And the first example, build a house is a need. I need to build a house. That is my need. And what are the requirements if you when you start talking with the stakeholders? How many bedrooms you need? Can you mute yourself, Abdul, if you don't mind? How many bedrooms you require? How many rooms you require? What type of bathroom you require? So all those kind of minimum detail, asking a particular question to some basic need, and then you can illustrate all the requirements. Yeah, they want to build a vehicle which is affordable. Tesla wants to build a vehicle Model 3 which is affordable. A mid-size sedan Model 3. That is the need. But what is the requirement? They want, I need 300 miles of range. That is the requirement. I need autonomous driving. That is the requirement. I need a car with minimalistic design of interior. That is the requirement. I need vegan leather in my car seat. That is the requirement, right? So those kind of things. I need a chassis which can be built up on the platform of the battery pack rather than chassis first in place and then the body will going to fit. That is the requirement. So those are the small things. So you can break it down all the requirements. As the example stated over here, the house shall have three bedrooms, two small bedroom and one master bedroom. That is the requirement, we can say. The master room shall have two windows. That is the requirement. I need some lighting. I need some fresh air in the room. The house shall have three levels. I need a house with a three-story, three levels of the building. The house shall have backyard. I have a kids, kids love to play. I need some backyard to play the kids. The floors shall be wooden. I don't like carpet. It's get dirty, and it's supposed to be wooden. And I like color of a dark brown. So these are the things we can say, these are the requirements, right? So suppose, take a second example, get a job. That is your need, right? You need to get a job as a BA. Applicant shall read the BA for beginners, so the book we talk about. Applicant shall create a resume. So you have to create your resume first. Get ready for the interview. The third step. There are some other steps as well for the requirement. If you fulfill that, you can achieve your goal. So requirement is the step where you can make a checkpoint one after another and to achieve some particular goal, right? Do you understand the difference between need and the requirement? Do I have to go for the third? uh, hmm, Okay. So the requirements are what need to be done in order to fulfill the need or a bigger goal. Also, you can look at it form of other side like a need of higher level of requirement, the segregated into lower level of requirement. So requirements should be big enough to create an epic means, the entire storyline or a book, we can say, which contain a lot of small tasks to achieve some certain goals. We will going to talk about that epic and task and subtask, those stuff, whenever we will going to talk about Scrum and Agile method. So let's talk about the requirements elicitation process. The first is the project Carter. It includes the project objectives and the high level of requirements or needs. High level of requirements, or we can say needs. That is called project Carter. The second is stakeholders register, provides the everyone who is involved within a project their roles in the organization. This allows you to know how and who is doing what. So whenever you are joining any project, these are the things you need to understand first of all. So you need to understand what is a high level of requirement. So before you go deep dive and break it down into small requirements to understand the stuff, you need to understand what kind of things they want to establish. Suppose some some project started. They Let's take stick with Tesla object example. So Tesla wants to create a project for the autonomous driving, and they want to build a next generation 100% autonomous capability in their vehicle, all of their vehicle, right? So that is the project, right? On the high level, you can understand the need. They want to create a 100% autonomous vehicle. So first of all, you need to understand that. Then after stakeholder register, then you will go in the Tesla and check online who are the stakeholders over here, including the CEO and everybody would be the stakeholders within this particular project. And he will go to get some update about all those things, what's going on. And you also need to understand which stakeholders doing what kind of job, what is his roles and responsibility during this program or project working with it. Then you have to read any historical materials and artifact from similar previous project. So suppose this 100% autonomous is previously built, but it is not 100%. They have created a semi-auto driving functionality. So you can go through that project, all the documentation, all the historical material you will going to get. And these company like Tesla and all, they will going to make a log of all the documentation, because that is the learning lesson for them to understand, what they did and how they did some particular project. So whatever you find, whatever you get, just grab it, read about it, don't waste any time. This is your first day activity you should do. If somebody will not going to provide, ask your hiring manager that, provide me the document so I can go through. It is your duty, it is your responsibility to ask all these questions. Nobody will going to give you any kind of spoon feed, right? So you will find the project that have been implemented previously, which has a similar kind of feature compared to goal, similar kind of goals or similar kind of, probably 60 percentage or 40 percentage match would be workable, So just read about it. You have to, otherwise you will not going to understand. Review the organization. So the fourth point, review the organization as a process flow on a blueprint. So as a process flow that how everybody is functioning, how they are working. So whenever you are become an insider, working in a company, if you are going for the Tesla project, then the first day you will become an insider. So you have to understand what is the flow over here, who is the authorized person, who is going to approve some certain things. So you have to identify those pillar of that particular projects. Besides all the designation, project manager and all, there are some couple of people who is working as an influencer or a catalyst for this particular project. So you have to identify them and make understand that who is doing what and how the entire process flow works, because it is not 100% defined, the process flow for each company. Each company has the own customized style to do that. Some people has a chain of command and everybody approves. Some companies has a bottom up approach where engineers decide something and then after manager will going to approve or not approve some certain things and release the budget and make the decision. So these kind of approaches you need to understand what are the company's behavior, how they implement, what they will going to do with some certain things. So these kind of stuff you need to understand whenever you are eliciting elicitation of the processes. How you will going to gather all the requirements. And then requirement techniques. This is a long topic. I am afraid we are not able to accomplish entirely today. But requirements elicitation technique contains interviews. Okay, okay, yes, that would be great actually if you have time, because I don't want to occupy you if you don't have time, right? Okay. Okay, so maybe we go overflow probably 5-10 minutes or something like that. That is fine, right? So the technique, hallucination technique is, so first of all is interview. So you need to talk with all the stakeholders, all the people who is associated within a team, focus group, which group has what kind of focus area, front end, back end, CI/CD, all those kind of JAD, joint application development sessions, which contain multiple or cross team together, working together, all the stakeholders working together, and figuring out some particular stuff. Questionnaires and surveys is necessary. Otherwise, you will not have the entire stuff associated with that, because feedback is must for whatever you are doing, your team is doing, or the other people is doing within your team. So that is must and must have the feedback loop, and it is a crucial for any project, for any work. Observation, you need to observe, become a specter or become a owl, where you will going to stand on a higher ground and look at everything just like a hawk, or in the nighttime owl. Prototype, once everything is working, you know the engineering team or the team will going to create some prototype for demonstration purpose and talk about something, right? Let's deep dive on each topic now. So first is interview. By taking to SMEs, subject matter expert, one-on-one meeting can get them to explain exactly what their requirements and understand the whole concept of the project. It is a very effective way to know how they will use the product or service the project is creating for. So interview is a part of the process, and I told everybody earlier in the meeting as well, in our previous session, you have to be a really good communicator. You have to learn the art of communication. You have to talk with the people, so you have some charm. Either you can talk verbally, or you are communicating through formally via email or writing some Slack, or do not get offended, or do not offend anybody by your language or by your gesture or by your kind of attitude as well. You have to ask the right question to the right people. Minimize your questionnaire, maximize your output. Don't ask bunch of question which is irrelated or similar kind of stuff. Don't ask same question again and again as well. People get irritated. You don't know what's going on there end, right? You don't know what's going on in their personal life. You don't know what's going on their office life, their professional life, right? So don't ask same question again and again. You have to talk efficiently, effectively, and you will get the proper answer for the proper question. So this is very, very important for business analyst. You have to talk not just verbally. It is more email conversation as well, or a Slack conversation, informal meeting where you are going with a lunch with the team members. You can use that time to make a bond out of within a teammates as well. Talk with the people. So that is very crucial. How you will going to interview, how you will going to represent yourself, so they will not get offended, bothered, or irritated, and you will get your answer. So you are able to do your job. That is very crucial and very important. The second is focus group. The focus groups are similar to interviews, but they involve specific set of stakeholders. So focus group is focused on some specific groups, who has some specific expertise in some SME, or in some, suppose you are talking with some QA people, right? So QA are ace of the game of testing, right? So you will going to talk with in a session within a team or with one-on-one uh, interview. It is a group you will going to talk with, right? To get a group of people discuss their requirements with each other and try to find the solution. So you will going to go with some agenda. Everybody will going to debate about it. You will going to keep a track of the meeting. You will going to log all the minutes of meeting, what's going on, who is talking what, and who is making what suggestion. And then after the conclusion come, what would be the conclusion of the meeting? What can be done or what can't be done, right? So those focus groups meeting are very important as well whenever you are talking with some subject matter expert or of expert of the team members. But let me tell you one thing. These are the meeting where your agenda get distracted, or the meeting get distracted and hijacked by somebody else or some other person within a meeting, and your agenda will be hanged on the door. So you, as a business analyst, you need to make sure those agenda has to fulfill during the meeting. If someone going off track during the meeting, talk about some other things, whatever the problem or outage they are having, or any kind of bugs or issue they are having, you have to tell them, interrupt them very politely. You have to tell them, this is not the place where you will going to talk about this. This is the meeting for these agenda. We will strictly going to talk about only those things, nothing else. So this is very important. You have to tell them and gather all the information, right? Always remember that you should go one more step beyond collecting the requirement, eliciting the requirement. This means that you keep asking questions and dig deeper until you get the comprehensive set of requirements that thoroughly describe the system you are creating, right? So never get off with the people with some other question remaining. Try to understand what some certain requirement do, and go through the thorough questioning, deep questioning, which will going to lay down everything. What are the question you will going to ask, or what are the things you will going to do, right? So I'm having just remind me before we end this session today. Remind me to need versus requirement, Abdul. So I will going to create one. Hello, Abdul. Okay, thank you. Then JAD session, joint application development session. JAD session are the series of structured collaborative workshop where facilitator, you are the facilitator, business analyst, lead the group through the brainstorming requirement together, bring together business people, the technology people, professional, and highly focused workshop where they will going to discuss about the solution of any problem. So with all these meetings, the interviews one on one, or focus group meetings, or JAD session, all this meeting, you are the person as a business analyst. You are the facilitators. So facilitator means you will going to provide a facility for this particular meeting to invite all the people and talk about some solution. You will going to keep all the logs and all the documentation about it, and once everybody get conclude some meeting, you will going to create a conclusion of this particular meeting, these or any meeting. Facilitator facilitates discussion, enforcement rules. So what would be the rules? How we will going to discuss? End user 3 to 5 attend all the session. Developer probably 2 3 present, provide technical clarity. Tiebreaker would be senior manager. Observer 2 or 3 do not speak. There are some facilitator means you, business analyst. End user, the user will going to uh, use this particular tool or feature or a service which the project is creating. Developers means technical people. Customer is not part of these meetings, right? But there are some representative of the customers, those people who get all kind of feedback, reviews, and everything. All the companies, big companies, have those kind of teams. They will going to take a review, probably marketing team or so, uh, take a review of the product and what kind of things they want to see as a new product, so they can keep a track that whether it will going to be successful or the fail. So if you know about it, when Amazon, Jeff Bezos was working as a CEO of the company, and he is working now as well. But at that time, the beginning time after 1997, whenever they are going for a JAD session or something like that, any meeting, we- he will keep one empty chair in the meeting, and he says everybody, imagine that this is the customer chair and customer is sitting over here. So each of the team member has to think that customer is there, and you have to think from the perspective of customer. What kind of services you will going to provide to the customer, how you can enhance the experience of the service you are providing. This kind of stuff, he initiated as a person, and since then it is a part of the thing, and now people have teams, the dedicated team. So you can note it down. These are the facilitator, end user, developers, tiebreaker, especially a manager or senior manager people who will going to break a tie. Probably two developers rushing towards to each other throats and discuss about some particular thing. Then the senior manager will going to interrupt and say, "Okay, let's do this. Let's take another approach to solve this particular problem," rather than who going to discuss that who is right. So this might happen when a team is working, more than one person is working on some particular product or application, then this case more likely happen. The observers are the people who will going to observe the you know the kind of a spectral kind of people, and the SME people is also there. So who will going to provide the input as a related to that particular subject of during the meeting in the JAD session. So this is the entire JAD session, and JAD session has a flow, something like this. There's a four step of JAD session. The first step is create agenda, and this is very important, Abdul, because JAD session is a very huge thing. You will going to talk with a multiple people or the entire team probably joint session, and each member represent their own beneficiary. They will going to talk about their own not beneficiary, but they talk about their own agenda about some certain topics, or they will going to put their points to that particular project they are working on. So you have to make sure that as a team, everybody is representing the first foot as a team forward, rather than first foot as a uh, particular team they are representing. If the business person, or they are representing only business thing and they don't understand the thing about it, or a technical people, a developer will going to talk about their development things, right? So you have to line up with everything. So create agenda before meeting is must, and goals, all the goals associated with that. What objective, why we are meeting today, what things we will going to establish from this particular meeting. The second is prepare for the session. So before you go and start the session, you have to prepare yourself. You have to prepare all the documentation, associated with all the agenda you will going to represent, and also understand all the ins and out about that particular agenda. So you have to prepare yourself, you have to do homework before you go to the meeting. The third is conduct the session. Just conduct the session, be in a session, and actively participate during the session as well, rather than become a passive listener or passive talker, right? Because you have to remember, these ownership is yours. That is your doing. You don't have to escape of your duties. These are the duties you will going to do. Fourth one is follow up on the result. Whatever the outcome of the meeting, and there are some after the meeting there are some points you have to follow up with, or the agendas you have to prepare, some specific topic or some specific thing. During the session you will decide, some team member will going to prepare or make something, or create a prototype, or make some changes in the scope of the project as well. So you have to make sure that thing happen, so there should be no any kind of misunderstanding or miscommunication is happening. So follow up is necessary. You have to do your own part. And what are the advantages of JAD session? Help bring experts together, giving them a chance to share their views, understand view of others, develop a sense of project ownership. The second is reduce the time for requirement collection. That is necessary because you will going to everybody get together and talk about it, right? So it will going to reduce the time for you and for the entire team as well. Improve the quality of the final product. So because everybody present in the meeting, it will going to improve the product as well by focusing up front portion of the development life cycle. So you will going to talk about development life cycle and about the product and everything during the session. So everybody on the same page. Nobody has any kind of false assumption or anything like miscommunication. Right? Everything is crystal clear because of everybody is present. If they are present, absent with the mind, it is their look after. You will once you will have the session, you will going to create all the documentation related to session. This is what conclusion. Then that is your cup of tea. Then they have to take care whether they will going to drink it or spill it. That it's their look after. Reduce the likelihood of errors, so there would be no error. Expensive to correct later on. Errors, some errors are very expensive, you can correct later on, but it takes money, time and effort from the team. Misunderstanding and issue can be recycled all at once, reconciliated, not recycled, reconciliated, and all at one time, because all of the stakeholders working together defining the requirement. So how do you prepare for the JAD session? Select the participation. Who are the participant for the team, for the meeting, right? Schedule when everyone can make the appointment. So you have to make sure you can schedule these kind of meeting where everybody is available. It is not like that, it will going to crossing with some other meeting and they are not able to. Distribute agenda before session. So before session, everybody should know that these are the agenda and these are the things we will going to discuss about. Make surrounding as comfortable as possible. So make surrounding as comfortable as possible. People get comfortable when they have some food, drink, etc., etc. during the session, rather than just talk, just business, no fun, right? So you have to make it little bit comfortable for each and everybody. Book enough time, so you have to make sure you have sufficient amount of time and make it like 15 minutes or a half an hour extra if it rolls over, so you have the availability for each and everybody. Discuss all topics and agenda. So you have to make sure that whatever the time you have booked for certain JAD session, you will go through all the agenda with that. It is not like let's continue tomorrow. No, you have to prepare, plan well, and make sure that you will going to go through all the agenda, all the topics associated within a JAD session. It will be no fallback, because there will be no tomorrow probably for this kind of meetings, right? So next one is questionnaires and survey. Questionnaires and survey are the tool that allow you to get the requirement for a bigger group of the people and understand feedback is necessary. Otherwise, nobody can understand, right? Feedback is necessary. What do you want from the new software? You can ask everybody surveys. Tesla has a lot of surveys. You can ask those teams that what are the surveys, what do you want from the new software, does the current software are using the satisfy your need, why not? So does the existing self-driving capability is good enough for all the customers, all the users? If yes, why? And if no, why not? Why no? And you can ask more detailed question about the current system performance and interface. So you have to understand the existing system whenever you are updating or enhancing some specific product or specific services. When you develop a questionnaires or survey or list, make sure the questions are specific and not confusing, because in this tool you cannot interact with your audience. You do not get chance to have follow-up question with them. So these kind of survey and everything, I have there is a some companies I can refer. Survey monkeys you can use within a team or within an organization if the company is big enough, just like Tesla or anything, Apple or something like that. You can send that survey in an email with probably 500 people or two people or anything, right? Survey monkey is there. You can create a Google form as well. Google form, with the Google form you will get all the answer. Make it simple. People, they don't have to use a lot of brain and a lot of writings and all the huge paragraph and those things. It is more difficult for you as well as for them means all the people you will going to get survey from, to understand that particular thing, because you have to make sure all people are busy. That's not their job to provide you the feedback. They are doing that because you are asking them nicely, right? It is beyond their roles and responsibility. So you have to make sure that you will going to ask them nicely. Observation, also known as a job shadow. You will going to do your job from shadow. Sometimes you will face the situation where the customer do not know what their requirements are. Job shadowing is to watch a potential user or the product owner or product user during their day-to-day tasks, participation, their work, and help identify the product requirement to see things from the customer point of view. So suppose user might be the Tesla user, right? So you will going to see the survey, how they are doing, what they are doing. Tesla has the cameras inside the vehicle, so you can see the recordings and all. There are bunch of things you can observe in the shadow and understand what are their needs, what are user want, what are the next generation of the software needs to be improved by some certain points. The sixth one is very, very important, which is prototype. A prototype is a quick implementation of incomplete but functional application. So it is not 100% working. There are some part you can prototype and see that whether it's working or not. So suppose with Tesla, it can be identified all the images it will going to process. Whether there is a dog on the street, there is a kids running on the street, there is a female running on the street, male running on the street, street light, all the poles, truck is stopping, minivan is stopping. So it can identify those things. They can prototype it. So prototype will going to give the confidence to the team that they are able to succeed in this particular project. I always recommend, yes. So Tesla, is working on their self-driving, right? So what they want to do, they have bunch of camera. From bunch of camera, they will going to capture multiple images and identify the object. What is the object, right? If in front of my car is minivan, in front of my car is a hatchback car, bigger car, or a lorry, or a semi truck, or a pickup truck. So I can create a small prototype application which can identify all the things. There is a pole in front of me, or in front of camera. There is a street light in front of camera. There is a child running on the road. So it can be identified as a child and how quickly it is doing. That is the also a prototype question as well. So more fast it will going to do because Tesla will going to drive probably 60, 70, or 100 miles per hour, right? So it has to identify all the objects is going on and get a perfect reaction time if somebody stop, right, of the front vehicle. So it has to stop whether it's not moving. So yeah, the Tesla has to start braking. So the self-driving has to start braking. But we are not testing the braking, but we are testing the image processing, whether that particular thing is recording and provide any kind of feedback, whether it's stop or it's in a motion. So those kind of small thing they can create as a prototype and show within a team that this can be done. We are succeeded, we can go move forward with some other stuff as well. Do you understand? Right. So similarly, if we talk about Apple, right, Apple has multiple cameras, right, multiple cameras. They do a different kind of functionality. So one camera will going to take a picture, that is the main camera. One is for the photo aperture or something like that, so it will going to create a contrast. One camera will going to measure the depth of the person who is standing in front of it, so it will going to create uh, the blur background and those kind of things, right? So because of that, each camera is functioning correctly. Before they move forward and incorporate all the cameras, they will going to test with prototype with single camera with doing some certain functionality, whether the single camera will going to measure the depth of a photo, whether it will going to blur the background, how identify the object, and how it will going to focus, and whether that camera is taking multiple picture and pick whatever is appropriate, right? So those kind of stuff. So that is considered to be a prototyping. So it will going to actually, it actual feel and hands-on experience of the product. It is not 100% working, but it will going to provide you the experience, whether it's working, whether it's functioning, whether it can be possible. Sometimes you need to know that because moving forward with uncharted things, uncharted territory, you need to know before you implement in your production, right? That's why prototype is necessary. You can see lots and lots of prototype with